As I tore down the drywall in my bedroom, I found an old cassette recorder hidden within the wall, its mechanical parts still miraculously functioning. Pressing play, I heard my own voice describing the discovery of the recorder, word for word, moments before they were spoken, and then it foretold a knock at the door that chilled me to the bone. I stood there, frozen, the dust from the drywall settling around me like some kind of eerie snowfall. The recorder was cold in my hands, an antique thing with worn-out buttons and a faded label that read, "Property of Greenvale Asylum." My heart skipped a beat. Greenvale Asylum had been abandoned for decades, rumored to be haunted, and demolished long before I was born. How did this recorder end up in my wall? My voice on the tape was clear, too clear, as if I were standing right there whispering in my own ear. "I found this old recorder in the wall," it said, and I felt a shiver run down my spine because I had indeed just said those words out loud, but only after the tape had spoken them. The voice continued, detailing my actions with an unsettling precision that made my skin crawl. Then, the voice on the tape said something that made my blood run cold. "Someone's going to knock on the door in a minute." I barely had time to process what I was hearing before there was a sharp rap at my front door. My heart pounded as I set the recorder down on the dusty floor and made my way to the door, my mind racing with questions. Who could it be? How did the recorder know? I opened the door to find no one there, just an empty hallway stretching out before me, bathed in the dim light of a flickering bulb. But as I turned back inside, I noticed something else on the tape recorder. There was another cassette, labeled with a date. Tomorrow's date. My hands trembled as I picked it up, the implications of what this could mean swirling in my mind. What if I played it? What if I heard something I couldn't unhear? I spent the rest of the evening in a daze, trying to rationalize what had happened. Maybe it was a prank, a strange, elaborate hoax set up by a friend, but the voice on the tape was unmistakably mine, and the details were too specific, too accurate to be a coincidence. The next morning, I woke up with a sense of dread coiled tight in my stomach. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. I made myself a cup of coffee, my hands shaking as I poured the hot liquid into my mug. I sat down at the kitchen table, the recorder staring at me like an omen. I took a deep breath and inserted the cassette labeled with today's date, pressing play before I could change my mind. At first, there was only static, a hollow hiss that seemed to fill the room. Then, my voice again, but this time, it was different. Shaky, scared. "If you're hearing this, don't come home tonight," the voice said, and I felt my blood turn to ice. Something's in the house. It knows where you are. Don't... The tape cut off abruptly, and I sat there in stunned silence, the weight of what I just heard pressing down on me. I couldn't stay here. I grabbed my keys and my phone, my hands still shaking, and I left. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't stay in that house, not after what I'd heard. I spent the night at a friend's place, barely sleeping, my mind racing with the possibilities of what that tape could mean. Was it a warning? A premonition? Or was I losing my mind? The next day, I returned home cautiously, half expecting something to jump out at me from the shadows. But the house was quiet. Too quiet. I retrieved the recorder from where I'd left it on the floor, and with a deep breath, I pressed play again. This time, the voice was different. It was still mine, but it was calm, almost resigned. "You came back," it said, and I felt a lump form in my throat. "I was hoping you wouldn't. It's too late now. It's found you." The tape hissed again, and then there was a sound I couldn't place at first. It was a wet, rasping noise, like something dragging itself across the floor. And then a scream, my scream, raw and terrified. I dropped the recorder, backing away from it as if it were on fire. I couldn't listen to any more. I couldn't stay in that house. I called a friend, my voice shaking as I explained that I needed a place to stay, just for a few days. I couldn't tell them why, not without sounding crazy, but they agreed, and I left, vowing never to return. But as I sat in my friend's guest room that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that something was waiting for me, biding its time. I tried to distract myself with a book, but the words blurred together, meaningless. I turned on the TV, but the static-filled channels only added to my unease. And then I heard it, a faint, wet, rasping sound coming from the hallway outside the room. My blood ran cold as I realized that whatever was on that tape, it had followed me, and it was here. I spent the next few days in a haze of fear and sleeplessness. I couldn't eat, couldn't think straight. I felt like I was being hunted, like something was always just out of sight, watching, waiting. I tried to rationalize it, tried to tell myself that it was all in my head, but the fear was too real, too palpable. Desperate for answers, I decided to visit the local library. Maybe there was something in the archives about Greenvale Asylum, something that could explain what was happening to me. The librarian, a kind old woman with glasses perched on the end of her nose, looked at me with concern as I explained what I was looking for. "Greenvale Asylum, you say?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "That place was shut down for a reason, you know. They say it was haunted, that the patients were driven mad by something unnatural." I felt a chill run down my spine, but I pressed on. I needed to know. The librarian led me to a dusty old book, its pages yellowed with age. It was a history of the asylum, filled with grim tales of patients who had gone mad, of strange occurrences and unexplained phenomena. As I flipped through the pages, I found a passage that made my heart stop. It was a description of a patient, a woman who had been found in a catatonic state, clutching a cassette recorder. The doctors had never been able to explain what had happened to her, but the recorder had been found with her, its tapes filled with her voice describing events that had not yet happened. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me as I realized the implications. The recorder was cursed, haunted by whatever had driven the patients of Greenvale Asylum mad, and now it had found me. I don't know what to do. I'm terrified, but I can't keep running. I need to find a way to break the curse, to stop whatever is hunting me. I don't know if I'll make it, but I have to try. I can't live like this, in constant fear, waiting for the inevitable. I've decided to return to the house one last time. I need to find out what happened, to put an end to this nightmare. I don't know what I'll find, but I know I can't keep running. I'll take the recorder with me and I'll play the final tape. Maybe it will give me the answers I need. Maybe it will finally set me free. As I sit here writing this, I can feel the fear coiling tight in my stomach, but I also feel a sense of resolve, a determination to face whatever is coming. I don't know if I'll make it out alive, but I have to try. I can't live like this anymore. I'll update this post if I make it out. If not, well, at least the truth will be out there. And maybe, just maybe, someone will find a way to break the curse of the recorder from Greenvale Asylum. If it gave you chills, hit that like button, subscribe so you don't get lost between worlds, and write in the comments. Are you sure you woke up in your own world? See you in the next story.